I'm sure you guys all know about this story by now, the little tyrant in New Mexico. Yeah, this is an ongoing issue, you might say. Bureaucrats and politicians that push for things they know are illegal. They sign these executive orders, like for instance with former Vice President Joe Biden and his push for the student loan stuff. You can't issue that order, but they issue it anyway. It goes into effect, and then it gets shut down in the courts later on. She admitted that she knew this was wrong and that it would get, tossed out in court if it even went to court in time. It was only for 30 days, but she went ahead and did it anyway. She issued the order anyway. So that's wrong, because you can't issue an order like this that is clearly unconstitutional and then just expect everything to be okay until it gets turned. Like, you've broken the law against the law of the land. There needs to be a law against that, or there needs to be some kind of rule or some way to keep these scumbags like this from doing this. Not only should it be overturned, like it will be, and even they know it will be, but these people should have to face some kind of consequence, because as it stands, they can just do the little dictator thing, roll over the highest law of the land temporarily until they're yanked back. But then they don't face any problems, so they can just keep doing it. Like, it can be overruled, but nothing happens to her. In the meantime, we are impacted by these laws and these orders that they decree from on high. For instance, this impacts people in a major way. Folks, there are a lot of defensive shootings in the country every day. How many people are going to pay with their lives for this order while it's still in the courts being overturned? This woman is a piece of garbage, 100%. She knows what she did is wrong, and she did it anyway. So, do the ends justify the means now? Is that how that works? Oh, it's an emergency, so we need to trample on your rights, and you don't get to do this, or you don't get to have that because it's an emergency. The ends justify the means. As governor, I see the pain of families who lost their loved ones to gun violence. Okay, there is no such thing as gun violence. There's violence. Now, whatever kind of tool is used to perpetrate the violence or assault somebody, it's just that. There is no... Gun violence is not different from violence. There is just violence. There's no hammer violence. There's no knife violence. There's no gun violence. There's no car violence. It's just violence. Stop calling it gun violence. It is not that. That is not a thing. It does not exist. That is a made-up buzzword talking point from these leftist pieces of garbage that want to strip you of your ability to defend yourself against scumbag criminals. A lot like them. In fact, I would argue they are the same, because they don't want you to defend yourself against them either. They crave money and they crave power over you. From local law enforcement to legislators to mayors, county commissioners, stand with me to enact solutions that save people's lives. Throwing up our hands is not an option. Who's throwing up their hands? Throwing up your hands is what you do when a criminal with a gun tries to rob you or kill you, and you don't have one. You throw up your hands because you are unarmed and at a severe disadvantage and completely at the criminal's mercy. Throwing up our hands is not an option. Well, it's pretty much the only option that you've left your people with. This little walking, breathing piece of human garbage, she is the enemy. That's all there is to it. There's no debate. There's no constructive way to approach her and to say, well, now let's have an intellectual discussion. And what do you think about... No. She's a traitor. She's a traitor to the country, to the Constitution, and her oath. And she actually said that her oath wasn't absolute. Actually, oaths are absolute. That's why you swear to uphold them. You don't see how you can get around it. It's an oath. You took it. You promised. You've got to uphold it. If you don't uphold it, then you've broken your oath. So yeah, Michelle Lou Jan Grisham, whatever your name is, Your oath is absolute, and you have completely broken it. So there is no constructive way to engage with a person like that. And the people of New Mexico voted her in, supposedly. Right? We know how that goes now, don't we? I don't know what we need to do to hold these little tyrants and these little mini dictators accountable for when they break the ultimate law of the land, knowingly and willfully. I mean, I can see how that could be a slippery slope to something that's a political weapon, surely, but there must be some way to do it. That should definitely be up there with term limits as a goal, as something we want to achieve, because they just get to do this and then it gets struck down and nothing happens to them. They broke their oath. Sure, you can vote them out, right? Maybe you can vote them out. We're still not really sure about that, right? Good luck. I'm sure that'll be a very fortified election. So there needs to be some other way to make them feel it when they break the law and when they trash the Constitution. They need to feel some kind of consequence for that, because they're not going to stop doing this, and people are going to get hurt.